7 o'clock sharp. I appreciate everybody taking time out of your busy schedule to be here tonight to learn more and get an update on the Dart's Timberline Regional Rail Project. Just want to make sure everybody's aware that we are in the process of recording this meeting. Just want to make sure everybody's aware. And if you have not signed up, please get with Soya and sign up so we can make sure we record your attendance. So a little bit of the rules of engagement. We will open the floor for questions and comments and concerns after each section. As many of you guys have been here before, what I'll do is I'll walk up to you, just raise your hand if you have a question, I'll bring up the microphone, and you'll have an opportunity to ask your question. Please, by all means, ask any questions you have. That's why we're here today, to be able to give you the information you need as we move forward. Just raise your hand, I'll bring the microphone, and if you'd like to submit questions via comment card, just let us know. Where we at? Christine is here. Where are you at, Christine? Christine's in the back. She'll have some comment cards, and she'll be more than happy to bring it to you so you can write down your question if you want to do that way. And then we'll bring up the question, and we'll read it out, and then we'll answer it. So let's go over the agenda. The agenda is, I just did the welcome. We're going to go over recent project milestones. We're going to do an update on construction activities, a quick update on the NCT COG Cotton Belt Regional Trail update, and then we'll kind of inform you on how to stay informed. Again, we'll allow you to ask any questions you have during the course of the presentation and also at the end of the presentation. Trey Walker, who's in the back of the room, he is our Vice President of Capital Design and Construction. We also have Mara Zavala, who's the DART Project Communication Manager and Community Engagement Representative for Dallas, who couldn't be here today, but I'm here taking part and representing him in the presentation. And then Soya Tafari, she's in the back at the registration table. She is the DART Community Engagement Support Representative for Dallas. And then we also have staff throughout the entire room. So at the conclusion of the presentation, if you have any questions for any of the staff after we conclude the meeting, we're here to answer any of your questions as well. We also have Matt Hemsat, who is the AWH, the Design Builder Project Executive. And we also have Keepon Khan, who is with the team, and he is our Hike and Bike Trail Manager. Right here, it gives you an indication of what our schedule is for all of our upcoming meetings. Obviously, you can report this today. We have committed to doing meetings on a bi-monthly basis, if you will. So our next meeting will be June 4th, and then we'll have our biannual meeting, our next biannual meeting in July, August of 2024. We're still solidifying the date. It will be in this location. And then we also have September 19th and November 14th. So those meetings will all occur in this room. So we look forward to having you attend to continue to get updates on the project.
There's a question?
Yes, sir.
Is that June 4th is a Tuesday, is that correct?
Yes, this is correct.
June 4th, is that something you have to say?
June 4th is a Tuesday. Yes, sir. Okay, so let's talk about some recent project milestones. Data as of April 2024, we have 8 Silverline vehicles that have been delivered to North Texas. We are at 75% completion on the Knoll Trail Station, 75% completion on the Cypress Water Station. We have 60% of all at-grade rail crossings are complete in Dallas and Richardson, and 80% of the noise and betterment walls have been installed in Dallas. The beams have also been set on the rail bridge over the Dallas North Tollway. So this right here just is an indication that there is light in the tunnel. The project is coming closer and closer to completion, and this is just an indication that we're making some progress. So I want to bring up Matt up here to do a presentation and to give us an update on construction activities and answer any questions you have. Thank you.
So it's a little bit of a comment slash question because I have signed up, as you probably all know, I like to be informed every which way, past Monday to try to get notifications. I have gotten 0 notifications about this meeting or any of the meetings for this year. When I have received a few notifications in the past, I don't understand why I wouldn't be receiving them anymore. This meeting wasn't even on the DART website till maybe a week ago, and it has no details on time or location. The only way I knew is because of a city council member who separately informs the community. I don't understand why those notifications aren't happening anymore. And it really makes me wonder, because our neighborhood as a whole has had a very difficult time in the past being on mailing lists, whether it's electronic or physical. We're obviously very affected by this project, so that's a big problem. And similarly, it also relates to the construction notifications, because I've heard other people say they're getting some that I'm not. And you know, you just changed the intersection in our neighborhood where it's completely blocked off. There's a different entrance to Adventure Landing, for instance. Nobody knew about that. The general one about Coit's overnight closure coming up hasn't been sent out. I don't understand that. I went to Archer Western's website that used to have these. The website's been down. It says the page no longer can't be found. Like, don't understand. Can you all please fix it? All of it, for good.
Thank you. Well, I do know that we have been distributing the notification well in over 4 weeks in advance. On social media, through the listserv that's on there that people have signed up for. It's on the website, it's on the AWH website. We send the notifications every single Monday. The city receives all of the updates for construction. Everybody receives them, it's consistent. We haven't changed it. I don't understand why you haven't received it, but we have done this over and over again for years. And all of a sudden now you're not getting it, so I'm not sure if it's, I don't know what it is, to be honest with you. But we will do our best to check it to make sure. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. The construction notification emails don't have the date of this meeting. We also had a hard time getting it. I did get a postcard, so I hope you did. But I would love you to go up to the computer and show us where on the DART website this meeting's listed. Like, why don't you walk us through it? You know, if you even want to do it on your phone and go to the landing page if you're having a connectivity problem, and you want to say, okay, I'm on the DART homepage, I'm now going to this, I'm now going to this, we'll follow along on our phone, and we'll see that it's problematic.
So the issue is I put in a request earlier. There was an issue with our website earlier that was noticed, and I have not gotten, it is not corrected yet.
Okay. It
So-
hasn't been listed the entire time, because I monitor this. It has not been on your website. The only place on your website that we found it is in a newsletter on like the 6th page on the bottom right corner. There's information without the date and time. So
All right, so construction update. We're out there at D&T. We did set the beams here the last couple of weeks. Over the weekend, this Saturday, we will be setting the ped bridge over the D&T. So D&T is getting shut down on Saturday night, and that'll go through Sunday morning. Mill Trail Station, we're still doing the platform there. Davenport Road, we did get some of the paving done here yesterday. As soon as that clears out, we'll get some temp asphalt in there, and then we'll switch traffic and start working on the other direction. Hillcrest Road, we're continuing on that one. If you drive by there, you can see that road cut starting to go down. We are down about 12 feet right now. Got about 6 more feet to go, but we're getting into the more technical part of the excavation, and the harder part of the excavations, we're getting into the rock. That is still progressing. Coit Road, like Sarah said here a few minutes ago, we did switch traffic on Adventure Landing here 2 days ago. That allows us to get the rest of the work done, to connect that together. Bridge beams are coming on the 18th, so those those beams will be set in place overnight on the 18th. And we'll continue to shift traffic around a little bit, not too much now that we got Adventure Landing open. Also on Coit, we just got approval from the city today about the investigation we have to do on the box culverts. So we're getting that planned for date specific, and we'll send out those notifications when we gotta go do the geotechnical work that will impact the entrance to Sugarcane to be able to get that excavation done to get the box culvert inspected.
Question?
Yes, ma'am.
So, where to start? I assume you think it's appropriate to not communicate with property owners whose property is being affected by that work?
Which work are you talking about?
For instance, the geotechnical work and investigation of the box culvert on which our entrance and private property is constructed?
I just mentioned we're putting together the date in which we're going to do it, and then we'll be communicating that to the property owners. So no, I'm not saying I'm not communicating it. I just got it approved by the city today to then be able to notify the residents. So
Because you can't talk to the property owner or notify residents about any upcoming work until the day you're gonna start? I mean, like, you have never communicated with us. So you can't pretend that like this one thing was pending some city approval, because this is the absolute universal fact is y'all have never
you've never
communicated
received
with
a
us.
you've never received a construction notice from my team.
I have received some in general about, for
So you
instance,
can't
Coit
use
Road.
that.
However, I recently am not, which I already pointed out, but I'm talking about specifically, I don't own Coit Road. I'm a member of an HOA that owns the property that will be affected on Sugarcane that you are talking about in that particular case. Regarding Sugarcane, regarding private property, DART and AWH have refused to engage. This is why we ever had to sue you in the first place, because you canceled meeting after meeting after meeting after meeting and then refused to reschedule.
You will get
So
the
that's
notice
what
of
I'm
what we're
asking.
doing.
Will you, okay, will that be a notice that our property is going to be damaged? Or
It
will
will
it
be.
actually be interacting with us?
You will have a notice of what we need to do to fulfill the requirements of the city of Dallas to inspect the box culvert.
So will that be a construction notice that you send supposedly that we should receive even though?
Yes, it will.
And nothing beyond that?
Nothing beyond that.
Can you guarantee that the construction notice process will be looked into so that we actually
Yes.
receive these? Okay, you'll guarantee that for, all right, wonderful.
At least from my team, yes, I can guarantee that you will get a notice from my team. Going through the pictures, this D&T beams going up here the last couple weeks ago. Like I said, we're setting the ped bridge this weekend. Campbell Road, not a whole lot going on there. Signals are starting to go in, and we're going to start validating those. Davenport. And that takes me to questions and answers. Sir.
Hold on, I'm coming with the mic for you. Put yours on.
Remind me when the Coit Road diversion started for the 2 lanes that are under construction now?
So we started that in about April of last year. I'd have to get the exact date, but it was early last year.
So that's close enough. Does that mean that the other 2 lanes will take till approximately Thanksgiving of 2026?
No, in the first phase, we had a lot of underground work, the big drainage work. That was all included in that. When we switched traffic in the June timeframe, we're still anticipating all of Coit to be done in the first quarter of next year.
Run that timeline by me again, because I don't remember when you first diverted Coit that all the drainage work under the lanes that the traffic are on right now was complete.
It was not. That was part of the shifting of traffic, was to do that drainage work. So a lot of that early work with all that drainage work, when we get to the next phase, that drainage work is done. So it's building the walls, the bridge, the paving, and that will go quite a bit faster than the first phase.
I apologize for walking late, but did you say when the system will be functional?
So the fully functioning system is, was it end of 25?
Late 25.
Late 25 is when the whole system should be operational, ready for passenger service.
Okay. And the bridge in the park in Duffield, is that going to stay the rust color, or are you painting it?
No, that is the final color.
That's the final color.
Yes, sir.
Okay. I'm just curious how you're going to get from the park over to Davenport, because you've got the
That's a future city project.
in the alley there.
That's a future city project. So there is a design to take the trail along the railroad corridor, but that's a future project.
After 2025?
I don't know what the timing is of that one.
Thank you, sir. Yes, ma'am.
So service is going to be the end of 2025. In the FEIS, you had forecasted using 60 to 90 trains a day. Now with ridership at 80% of pre-pandemic levels, what are you doing to adjust your train count to accommodate the lower ridership?
John's walking up here, that's not my question.
John, I get you.
Now, the FEIS is designed as a future year look ahead, and it's used for forecasting and determining our environmental clearance, as well as getting our federal funding. So we're not adjusting any schedule at this point. We're going to operate the train. We're going to set a schedule and move forward with that. And our schedulers are looking at various options to see. Now, the way to increase ridership is you can increase the time of service, or you can increase the frequency of service, and that would increase ridership.
How many trains a day are you planning for 2025?
They're still working on the schedule. It's about 60 is what they're looking at.
Yes, ma'am.
So you haven't done details in quite a while, and since there might be one more meeting, but it would be very close to traffic shifting on Coit, there haven't been many details on, that's obviously a very complicated process for keeping the entrance open. Can you walk through that, review timing, how exactly that will work?
So the entrance to Sugar King will still do the exact same thing like we said before. I don't have exact dates of when that'll happen, but we will keep the one lane open coming out, and we'll go through that process that we outlined before, and I can have that sent back out to everybody so you can see what that process is. It's a multi-phase process with a 7-day closure at the end to be able to get everything tied in and making sure that we're able to get everybody through there safely. And that's connected to the stuff we're doing right now.
And you mean one lane in and out?
One lane out, and then the one in, but you won't be able to go left, right? Because that's obviously.
And how long will that be?
So I think if I remember the schedule right, we had a 7-day closure at the end, and it was about a 4-week process before that. I'll confirm those, sir. I don't have those off the top of my head anymore.
Oh, this is a question for Mr. Hoppy again. So the 60 trains a day is based on what ridership?
It's not based on ridership at this point. It's based on continuity of service, what buses, what other trains are going to interface with it. This train interfaces with the red line, the green line, and the orange line, as well as the text rail. So it's based on interconnectivity between all those services.
So you have buses and participating trains?
No.
Yes, sir.
So I want to get to a one-sentence summary you threw out before. I'll use 2 words that you used the last meeting when I asked you about this. On January 24th and or 25th of next year, your words, you are absolutely certain that Hillcrest will be open.
Yes.
Second question, you're 3 months into the closure of Hillcrest. Have you had to materially alter the schedule or your supply chain to reach all your objectives in the first 3 months?
No.
Good.
Any other questions before we move on? Okay. Yes, ma'am.
Going back to sugarcane and Coit for a minute, again, with concerns about the notification process, since that will be a major disruption to thousands of people, how far in advance will that plan be sent out at minimum to the community? Because again, if you're not prepared to discuss it in detail tonight, the next meeting's going to be very close to that time.
We'll send it out initially in May for a closure in July.
With the full process of steps and timing
Yes.
in May.
I will make sure that happens.
Any other questions? Yes, sir.
The barricades at Hillcrest and Campbell on the north side, when you first closed it, barricades stuck out 2 lanes. Now it's only 1 lane. So people are going down, through it because they're figuring, hey, it's open. Can you move that back?
Yes, I'll have my guys check it first thing in the morning.
You go ahead. Thanks.
So I want to give you a brief update now on the Cotton Belt Regional Trail.
Could you talk closer to the microphone?
I could. Is that better? It sounds weird. Which was the right button? So this is the one that you've seen. This is really what phase 2 is going to be of the hiking bike. We're going to build from Addison all the way up to Shiloh, with the little section from Davenport to Preston Green Park that will not be built in phase 2. You don't understand which.
What you just said.
Phase 2 construction is going to go from basically Midway Road in Addison all the way to Shiloh Station in Plano, except for the section of trail from Davenport to Preston Green Park. That was not enough funding in phase 2. So NetCog has moved that to phase 3, when we will build the rest of the trail from DFW Airport to Addison.
Is everybody comfortable and understand what phase 1, phase 2, phase 3 means?
Can we get dates for the phases?
Sure. Phase 1 is going on currently, right? Phase 1 is what Archer Western is building in their schedule. That would be the Preston Green Park Bridge, the Hillcrest Bridge, the D&T Ped Bridge that we're building now. And also in Plano, Jupiter, we're building a bridge. So those are going on now. We're into the procurement phase for phase 2. So we're hoping in the August timeframe, we will go out for a solicitation to build phase 2. That's about 11 miles of the 26 miles, and that will take us roughly 4 to 6 months in the procurement process. So late 24, early 25, we will start building the bridges and the trails from Addison up to Plano. So, and that we think will take us till about August of 2026. So Silver Line will be in revenue service before we get that part of the trail open. But the primary thing would be to connect the bridges that were built in phase 1. NetCog's objective is to make those bridges usable and then to make sure there's access to the stations. So the primary thing you will see first are connecting the bridges, building the bridges, connecting the bridges, and connecting the stations. Yes, ma'am.
So I'm just gonna say it in resident speak. Phase 1 is the stuff they have to build before the train goes, because they can't do it once the train's operating, right? You can't close Hillcrest again and build a pedestrian bridge right next to the tracks over Hillcrest. So they're doing that now. That's all funded. The question I always get is, well, is this part of the trail funded? Well, what he's telling you is for District 12, anyhow, I don't really care about the rest of it, everything is funded. From, like, we start at Preston to Davenport, right, north-south. So where we bought Dane's house to be the trailhead, that's where it stops. And then it doesn't pick up again until you're inside Preston Green Park, the part that's already been built. So that little segment is not funded. It's not currently gonna be built. It'll be phase 3. They're still applying for grants for funding for that. So some people are like, oh good, because this is problematic for my house, right? Okay, well guess what? Even people who come from Plano, as far as they can get is gonna be Preston Green Park, and then they're gonna loop back around. From the Addison side, the farthest they're gonna get is Dane's house, and they're gonna have to loop back around. In the meantime, in the bond package, we have funding to redo the entire street of Duffield, right in front of the park. That whole thing, that street's terrible, by the way. And of course, you know, we're going through the process of redesigning the park, so that also will get done, hopefully before a lot of people start walking through it, right? So there are some things that are actually being coordinated. So you know when you say, well gosh, why don't you guys coordinate all this? We're actually coordinating all of this. And I think that will also help for people who say, I hate this trail behind my house, I gotta move. Okay, you're gonna have time to do that without construction actually happening. So I think this is a good thing that's happening. And I like how this phasing is happening. So we'll still have some access to kind of try it out. And by the way, everybody has motivation because they don't want to leave that segment unfunded, right? So I feel comfortable it's going to happen sometime. I may not be in office at that time, somebody else, maybe one of you, but it will happen. So I feel good about how this is progressing. I just want you to know that. And P.S., originally, if you think back when I started, people said, well, how much of the trail is funded? I'm like, 0, nothing. And Dallas was going to have to fund its own trail. Well, so far, we're $0. So all this part actually makes me very happy. And as I've always said, the silver lining of the silver line is this trail. So, you're happy I'm saying something nice. It's so good.
Carol,
Give me credit, give me credit who's due.
Carol, do you know what proposition in the bond has Duffield and the park?
Streets. Duffield is under streets. and the park will be under parks. I will have information coming out for you about the bond. I'm allowed as an elected official to use my name. I am, actually, there's some misinformation out there. I'm allowed to endorse propositions or oppose them. I'm allowed to share that on my personal or campaign social media. P.S. All my social media is personal or campaign, although I often include city stuff. But I can't do it from my city phone, but I could do it from my personal phone. I can't do it from my city computer, but I can do it from my personal computer. And I will have some thoughts to share. That's all I'm going to say. But obviously I wouldn't be telling you about those two if I didn't feel very positively about streets and parks. Maybe not all of the propositions.
Thank you. We have a question in the back. Hold on one second, please.
Can you turn off your mic?
So, you and I have talked.
Am I on?
There you go.
Yes.
You and I have talked about the section between the park and Davenport. What everybody may not realize is that section, there's not enough room for the trail, period. What that means is there's a third of a mile of trees there that have been there for a very long time, since the neighborhood was put in the late 70s. That will have to be clear cut and replaced with concrete. So all of the area that had been, when we voted on our amenities from DART in terms of what would be there in terms of greenery, we had gotten, DART had said DART wouldn't cut down the trees. So when the neighborhood voted on what kind of mitigation that we would have, we assumed that those trees would be there and that we would then be filling in that line of greenery. Now what I'm hearing is that not only is there not enough, there's not enough room for the trail, so everything basically from the edge to edge would need to be concrete. And in fact, there may be areas where there's not enough room and our alleyway may be taken, and so we may have to share our alleyway with bicyclists, runners, small children, as we back blindly out of our driveways. So I am a little concerned about the safety risk there. I am concerned about, since this is maybe happening after the rail is built, this section, I am concerned about our neighborhood getting the mitigation, amenities, greenery, all those things that we were promised and were budgeted for in DART's plans. And basically now it's like, well, they're in DART's plans, but there will be no place to put them because everything would be solid concrete. So I guess I'm looking for some clarification, and I'm expressing my frustration that it's okay to sacrifice our neighborhood to this extent. It's one thing to have the rail, but it's another thing. Now we lose our green belt, and the city of Dallas does indeed have a trees ordinance, but apparently it doesn't apply to governmental bodies. So the words are there, but they don't have to be followed by the city. And we will, like I said, the part about potentially backing out of my driveway and having small children on bicycles and folks actually co-using that facility just scares me to death. And seems like it's a real risk both for the residents and for the city as well.
Okay, see, they love me to talk and hate me to talk all at the same time. So I'm going to answer the difficult question. Number one, DART did budget for lots of greenery enhancements, and they took that all away. That never really came to fruition. They said they calculated differently, all sorts of things, so there are no dollars for enhancements. That's not happening. Agreed?
if you have if you have a sound wall, then there is budget for landscape. If you have a betterment wall, there is no budget for landscape. Okay, so if it's a sound wall, there's supposed to be budget. But there's also an agreement with the city of Dallas that we're going to allow for the residents to grow vegetation on the wall, but there would have to be an agreement with DART on what that looks like and how that will be maintained by the owner.
So I think that's only when it abuts their property. This is across the alley, so it does not, number one. Number two, you're correct. I think it's gonna be concrete to concrete. Can you confirm the width of the trail at the section between Preston Green Park and Davenport?
Yes, ma'am. That will be 12 feet wide. We currently have about 19 feet from the edge of DART property to the noise wall. 12 feet of that will be trail.
And then you'll also have the clearance of 2 feet on either side?
We have a shy distance of 2 feet on either side.
So they're not taking the alley. There will be a horrible chain link fence separating the alley and the trail. You will have a problem backing out, and you might have to maneuver 3 or 4 times to not hit the chain link fence. That's likely. But you're not going to have people riding the bike through the alley unless they go through the park, go out, come back around, and they go through the entire alley. But they're not leaving the trail that's behind your house to then be in your alley behind your house. There will be a fence there. They're not going to be able to.
The only reason I brought that up is you had actually brought that up in a previous conversation, and
we worked it out.
Okay, I have. It's great that it's worked out, but I have not heard that. The loop did not close. However, you're talking, and we can take this conversation offline. But you're saying that there's room for a 12-foot trail there, and I actually have been on site with personnel from AWH and the Parks Department and the measurements there, and have looked at the actual document, have looked at the documents and looked in person, and kept being told repeatedly that there is not room on that end closest to the park.
So I don't have it in front of me. I'm going to tell you, I didn't think that you had that much.
Yeah,
I didn't think you did. I thought it was a 12-foot total.
The challenge.
Okay, use the microphone. I can't hear you.
Okay. I didn't want to cut the microphone away from her.
The challenge is, if you save the trees, you could not have a 12-foot trail. It is scheduled for a 12-foot trail. That would take the trees away, because the trees are in DART's right of way. So DART did not take the trees because it was not part of the silver line. NetCog will potentially have to take the trees to have a 12-foot trail, because the trees are in the way of the trail. Especially the biggest tree back behind your yard. I was out there when we measured, and you could only maybe put an 8-foot trail at that point to save the tree and have the 2 feet. And we also have the Explorer gas pipeline that is between the noise wall and your alley. And Explorer pipeline will not let us put the trail over the top of the pipeline. So there are some challenges in there. That is in phase 3. That can all be relooked at, because it's not going to be built between now and August. That section of the plans is on hold.
Okay, so it's disingenuous.
I just want to commit to something. So like we're just having this conversation, and I'm saying, okay, are you taking the trees down? Like, let's just say it if that's what's happening. And he says, we're not doing it. This is going to be a COG decision. So I will find out what's happening. I'll sit down with them and find out if they are dead set on one plan or another and why, and we'll go from there.
So I've had individual conversations that lead me to believe that COG is very open to other alternatives. And my concern about bringing it phase 3 now, I understand it's not being built this minute, but if you build all the interconnecting pieces and put the cash towards those things, and leave it so that that's the only opening, the only possible alternative. It's disingenuous to say that we don't need to worry about it because it won't happen until phase 3. This is something that in the planning stages, it needs to be dealt with now. And if there is a way Particularly since, Kara, as you said, if we aren't getting any kind of greenery mitigation, ability to even plant lines, that is the one thing in this whole thing that our neighborhood has fought for.
The vines actually might be a possibility with COG. So I know you and I have talked about could the trail reroute different ways, including on the street. I can tell you COG is not amenable to that at all. The trail will go behind your house, period. And it's gonna, there's.
You and I must have had conversations with different people. In fact, we have it on tape when Michael was here that he said he was open to alternative routings, but it would have to come from the city of Dallas.
Okay.
So.
I appreciate where you're coming from. The trail is gonna go behind your house. I'm just telling you, I've told you this before, I'm gonna tell you now, the trail isn't gonna leave Preston Green Park, go on Duffield, and then go back around. It's not safe, it's not gonna happen. I won't even support that. I won't. That's a terrible idea, and I told you that. But
That's
the
not actually
conversation-
the best option.
I'm sorry?
There are other options.
Okay. The decision about whether a tree comes down versus the width of the trail, I have no opinion about that, but I'm certain that COG does. Let's hear what their requirements are. We'll go back to the community. I do care about what the people who live most directly, and you know that the Preston Green reimagining, we started only with the people closest to that park, and then we went to the whole district. So I do. However, 26 miles of people are going to use this trail, and that's why it's completely unreasonable to put them on the street. If you have a third or other idea, happy to hear it, happy to advocate it if it works, but not putting a trail on a street when it could be protected behind houses. I mean, that's just the reality. So I feel like I understand where you're coming from. I feel like I have very much advocated for that neighborhood, including getting the street paved. Well, seriously, I mean, y'all are going through a lot, and there's a lot of construction vehicles that have torn up the street even more than the bad shape it was already in. I think Hillcrest, I would love Archer Western to recognize the damage they're doing to Hillcrest and fix some of those potholes with concrete, not asphalt. And I'm sure you're gonna say that's not our responsibility, it's the city's, but you have greatly damaged Hillcrest. So the good news is most of this trail. There are some issues left with that segment, which is I'm sure why they popped it down to the third tier, which I'm fine with. I don't think it's gonna get forgotten. I don't think it's not gonna ever get built. But I think it allows for additional conversation, which is what I think you're asking for.
Yeah, at a minimum, I'm asking for additional conversation. So I appreciate that. I just feel like there are some other alternatives, and that there are people in the mix that seem to be open to those. So I hope that you will keep an open mind as well.
And Terry, I just want to make sure you know that DART's very sensitive about the trees, and because back several years ago, we had the conversation about that. We committed to preserving the trees, and we've done that. At the time when we had that conversation, they were not even designing the trail yet, so we didn't understand the impacts. This one. No, we committed to the.
And Ruben, my concern at this point is that we're planting a hot potato. That DART said, hey, we did our part, we can cut the trees down. And Kara says, hey, we're getting a fabulous trail, and I'm not going to cut your trees down. If anybody messes with the trees, it's going to be COG's fault. So, and when I talk to COG, it's like, no, it all goes back to what the city of Dallas approves. So I'm feeling pretty frustrated as a homeowner and as a longtime resident.
Keith? Thank you. So here is the Preston Green Park Bridge. It is the first bridge that we've gotten built. It's 90-something% complete. We met with Parks Department, did a walkthrough over the bridge to find out anything that needed to be done. The good part is the trail section from, and this comes up in the slide, the trail section from Preston Green Park to Hillcrest, that section of trail will be built now. As a matter of fact, late this month, late this month or early next month, they're gonna start building the trail, because with Hillcrest the way it is, if they don't build the trail from the park to Hillcrest, once they open up Hillcrest, they won't be able to get back there. So you'll have the longest section of trail, the first section of trail to actually be open will be the Preston Green Park over to Hillcrest. So that is going on, going to be starting now. The only thing I think we're missing here is some railing, and we're working with the Parks Department on when to turn this over to the city of Dallas. And then the North Turnpike, the Ped Bridge, is going to be set Saturday. It's about a 126-foot span. They're going to set it all at one time, and the Ped Bridge will be there over D&T. And that one will be done. There's still some concrete to pour and other things, but the rail bridge and the Ped Bridge will both be set by Saturday night.
Okay, so I have another question that somebody's asked me. Can you flip it back to the photo of the bridge? So a number of people have talked to me about the design of this bridge, which I believe is universal across the whole 26 miles, correct?
It is correct. It is the Cortan steel, and that's what NetCog settled for all the Ped bridges. It is that self-weathering steel that kind of blends in with the trees and that kind of stuff. But to be painted, it had to be galvanized steel and then painted.
This is not the concern. It's not the color, it's not the material, it's not even the finish. It's well, she had it. Okay. It's the railings and how easy it is for a kid to climb over it. That's what the concern is that I'm hearing.
Because there are children on that bridge.
Well, and instead of, keeping a general eye on children, suddenly it's like, it's not that tall of a bridge, and that's just 3 little hops up. And, I have 3 boys.
If you look at the bridge, it doesn't have, there is a railing. I think the railing's about 4 foot tall. The railing, it's very hard to see, but that is probably 4 foot. The concrete.
I'm talking about if you're standing on the bridge, if you're on the walking trail,
Right.
and your kid goes ahead of you, they run ahead, which you're like, good, take a minute away from me, right? Like, go. That they couldn't grab that top bar, 1 foot on, 2nd foot on, 3rd they're already over.
Well, no, the rail itself that they would have to step on is 4 foot high. There is nothing between the concrete and the 4 foot rail to step on. You see, it looks that way.
You're standing on the bridge. You're telling me there's nothing that is horizontal for 4 feet? Wouldn't they fall through that? That's not, it looks like.
You are correct. There are little.
That's what they're afraid. This is what the parents are calling.
I understand what you're saying. This was what NetCog went to all the cities and said, this is our bridge. This is what we're going to do. And all the cities said, that's great. That's the bridge we want. So NetCog went to every city. They showed the bridges. They showed the pictures of the bridges. And every city has bought off on this bridge.
Wouldn't the tollway authority care about pedestrians that live there?
D&T actually has an 8 foot tall no climb fence because they insisted somebody could throw something with a 80-mile-an-hour car going underneath it and it could cause a lot of damage. There are no cars under here. So that was the deal with
How about
D&T.
Hillcrest? It's 18 feet down.
Yes, that decision was made not to put the no climb fence on Hillcrest by the city.
Who made that decision?
It was in the drawing, so it would have been whoever reviewed the 100%, 60%, 30% set of plans.
I've never seen that question asked.
That's, I think, why that question has not been asked.
About the design.
Yeah, that question never came up about put tall railings in. D&T, the tollway, said we will not let you put a bridge over the tollway unless you have the no-climb 8-foot tall fence.
So that's the same one for Hillcrest.
That is the same one for Hillcrest. Kira, I will double check that for you and make sure. Hillcrest has not been built yet. It has not been fabricated yet. The only ones fabricated are the D&T and this one.
Or that there's some sort of panel so that we don't have a trailer.
I need to double check to just verify for
It
you.
seems like it wouldn't be safe and it wouldn't be allowed, and certainly it was never asked, hey, do we need to have a different bridge here?
Well, you say that. I think it was asked. It may not have been asked to the right people, but it was asked to the city of Dallas.
Just so that you know, we saw a presentation from the Dallas Water Utility Department, and the bridge next to the pump station, which is on Hillcrest, is that bridge, horizontal.
The rail bridge and the ped bridge both go over Hillcrest.
What you just said about the no climb. I know, but you just said Hillcrest is 22 feet down. You want no climb there as well.
It is. Hillcrest is raised, elevated over the road. I said D&T was the only transit authority that said, we will not allow you to put this bridge over unless you have this.
I have a different question for Mr. Hoppy again. What other transit agencies in the United States base their train frequency without ridership numbers?
Ridership is used for long-range forecasting and getting our environmental clearance. You don't typically do short-range forecasting after you have the approved project and moving forward.
How do you use your ridership numbers operationally at DART?
We don't use them operationally. We monitor the ridership and we report it and we keep track of it. We make adjustments to schedules based on ridership, but we don't do forecasts to predict individual ridership for short-term planning projects.
How do you adjust your schedules based on ridership?
It's various ways, by increasing the frequency, increasing the amount of service, timing of buses and trains and that, so everything meshes together. Yeah.
So do you decrease service based on lower ridership?
I'm not an expert on that, but typically, if you want to increase ridership, you would increase the amount of service you put out there.
Different topic, and I've brought this up before, so to note that it's ongoing and also a question, but along the sound wall, for our whole neighborhood, there are erosion and runoff issues. Every time it rains, we've been told there will be erosion control. I've been told multiple times in the past tense, erosion control was put in place, and it still has never been, so that's an ongoing problem. And also some of the recent work in moving dirt damaged a new section of our perimeter wall. So if you would like to proactively do anything about that, talk to me about that, that would be good.
Any other questions? Any questions at all?
Sarah, you can send me I'll give you my email again, but you can send all that information to me and I'll field it for you.
So obviously we're available to you contact us using all these platforms. We'll be coming back here in early June to have our next meeting. If you have any questions after this meeting, you're more than welcome to talk to the entire staff. We're all here. We appreciate y'all being here. we have some action items, obviously, and I'll get with Ms. Middleton on some of those, and any other questions you'll have, please let us know. So thank y'all for being here. Have a good evening.